those of you who don't remember or haven't talked to me yet, I'm Maria, and I work for the Center for Indigenous Environmental Resources. I'm just going to go quickly through some of the tools and resources we have available in relation to climate change adaptation. CIER is, so we're a First Nations directed nonprofit organization. We work nationally across Canada with First Nations. We were founded in 1994 by a group of First Nation leaders from across Canada who recognized the need for First Nation peoples to have the capacity to solve environmental problems affecting their lands and waters. We're not affiliated with anybody, we're not political, so we're focused mainly on environment. We envision sustainable First Nation communities and a healthy environment, and our mission is to assist First Nations with building a capacity to address the environmental issues they face. This is a screenshot of our website. It's www.cier.ca. And if you want to find out more about our organization, you can check out our website. We have 4 what we call programs in CIER. Taking action on climate change, which is where a lot of the tools that I'm going to show you fall under. We also we work with First Nations to develop renewable energy technologies. Wind farms, we do energy baseline work. Another program is protecting lands and waters, where we do a lot of water quality sampling, training, water monitoring with communities. We also do conserving biodiversity. We work with First Nations to set up fish habitat programs, from like restoring riverbanks and fish habitat on their lands. We also do some biodiversity work, and our other program is building sustainable communities, where a lot of our planning falls under. We do community planning, land use planning, use and occupancy mapping for communities, and interwoven. And it's not to say all the projects we do fall in one program. They kind of could fit in all 4 or all 3. And underlying all of this, again, it's capacity building. We offer training on various topics, and also are getting more and more over the last couple of years, really focusing on youth. And we always say they are the leaders of tomorrow, so we need to help them along their way. Today I'm going to present on 5 tools that CIER has developed that could help others working on climate change adaptation. And these tools can be accessed from our Information and Resources tab on our website. So, this toolkit was developed with back in 2005 with an Aboriginal Advisory Committee, and it basically provides Aboriginal Northern communities with the information that they need to become better informed on issues relating to climate change. The toolkit contains all kinds of information, resources that communities, as a first step in building a common understanding of what climate change is, then the issues, and ways to help stimulate discussion in your communities. It includes booklets, pamphlets, videos, computer discs, PDFs, the website links, and posters. This kit isn't available on our website, but we do have them in our office. Some useful publications that could help in stimulating discussion on the topic of climate change and adaptation. The first one on the left, is climate change in First Nations south of 60. In Canada, quite often we find a lot of the funding and a lot of resources go to communities north of 60, the 60th parallel. So a lot of the work we've done focused south of 60. And for climate change. So this is a report we put out. We put out a long version, a short version, and also highlighted case studies that highlight existing things communities are doing to adapt to climate change in their areas. And it's a good tool to make communities aware of how they might be affected and thinking of potential adaptation strategies. Sharing knowledge for a better future. There's several on the back. We did this, we were supported by Indian and Northern Affairs Canada, which is now Aboriginal and Northern Developing Canada, through their climate change adaptation program and also through the Eco Energy program. And it's lessons learned, focusing on various First Nations across Canada, that perspectives and things that they're doing in relation to climate change. We also work with South Nation, Chief Gordon Plan's community, to develop a webcast called Implementing Adaptive Capacity, First Nations in Transition. And it basically documents South's journey to plan and implement activities to become more resilient to climate impacts. The story is told in their own words and can be used as an example to other First Nations. And that's available on our website. We've also produced a resource that talks specifically about risk management, and in particular managing the risks of climate change. I brought a copy on the back table. The risk management guidebooks originally started out as a guidebook, and it was developed by Jim Bruce, Mark Edgener, and James Black. And we basically took their guidebook, and we had a session where we invited communities, First Nations from across Canada, from Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. And we brought them together and worked through the guidebooks. It was kind of a work in process. We got them to work through it, and also, so in the end, we made changes that would be specifically related to the Arctic, or the Northwest 60. And it's based on a CSA risk management guidelines for decision makers. The first volume basically walks communities through how to do a risk assessment or a risk management approach in relation to how to make climate change decisions. And the second volume provides communities with all the worksheets that they would need to go through this risk assessment process. And also highlighted in that are 3 case studies, which came out of the workshop we did. So one's Yukon focused, one's Northwest Territories focused, and one's more Nunavut focused. And they're really helpful in helping communities work through their own issues. They're not really available in hard copy because we made them into an interactive website, so it's accessible on our website. And also, the website includes information that's not necessarily included in the guides I have in the back. And the last tool I want to talk about are what we called our climate change planning tools for First Nations. 6 guidebooks that CIER developed. They were developed through working with 2 First Nations, Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in Manitoba and Deschambault Lake Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. And so essentially the development of these guidebooks was piloting on the go. So the guides help communities think through the process. They would provide activities that communities could do to build awareness, to get people out, to help discuss the issue of climate change. And they were developed by, working in our office in Winnipeg, going out to the communities, talking to our liaisons, visiting, actually going out and doing activities, working through some of the things that are in the guides. And then we also provide stories of the things that we experienced when working with the First Nations. And they basically walk you through the process of incorporating climate change into community planning. Some community planning steps are included, and we put them in guidebooks so communities can really if they feel maybe they want to jump in Guidebook 3, well, they can easily do that. So it really, as opposed to having to start right from the beginning, so it's really, communities can assess whether they need to start at Guidebook 1 and work all the way through, or maybe halfway through. So all these tools are available on our website, Information and Resources tab. And like I said, some of them, I brought as many as I could. They're on the display table in the back. Thank you. Yes, Glenn.
I like your organization. I'm glad you're looking after us. When it comes to water, you test the water in the community, not the streams beside the community. Is the water, the drinking water, is that what you mean?
We don't necessarily focus specifically on drinking water. We're talking more about streams, rivers, lakes that fall within First Nation traditional territories. We're really big on working with communities, teaching and training their own local people so that I don't have to come back. I mean, the idea is that we would like First Nation members to be able to do that kind of stuff on their own. But we provide, the startup and mentoring support throughout, and then hopefully they eventually run with it.
Continuing on with this land use planning.
Yes.
What would it cost my community for land use planning?
That's always a tough question because I don't even know. Our approach is we really sit down with each community. Each community is so different. They have, their own, what the things they want out of it. It's really, we sit down and our whole process of land use planning is we like to work with what we call a champion in the community. So who's going to get the message out, who's going to push this land use plan forward, but then also having a small planning team within the community that can support them as well. So it's really working out how much support do you want from us. We have the process laid out, but do you want us to lead everything, and with some communities we do a training, mentorship and training, as well as actually doing the plan together.
Thank you.
So it really varies.
Okay.
I know it's kind of a non-direct answer, but.
It's in a different situation than ITEP in that it's not a core-funded organization, right? So when the communities want to work with CIER or have training, Rio just came back from Onion Lake and did some training on community planning. So we create budgets, look for grant funding, work with communities on proposals, or if they have sources of funding, respond to their needs. And that's why it's all tailored a little bit differently. On the training side of it too, we encourage people to have groups if they can, right? So if you're in a community and you find that they're, within your tribal council or within your area, everybody's interested in talking about land use planning, and you can share resources to bring someone in from CIER to do that training there to a group of you, then it's a more affordable option for people.
Yeah, how long would the training generally last? Like say for water sampling?
Yeah. We've done different approaches to that too, where sometimes it's been, here's a 2-day workshop. It's a getting started, get going, to a program where there's been water guardians, where there's been ongoing visits back and forth, where the people have learned some skills, applied the skills. CIER's come back again, taught a little bit more, applied those skills. To community planning training, where we've done 4 weeks of curriculum spread over a year and a half. So that there's that constant, as Maria said, training and mentorship as the process happens. So
Sky's the limit.
Lisa, and Maria, I think as well in terms of budgeting, I think it is helpful when folks ask, how much would a land use and community plan cost? It is helpful to get an idea. It is very expensive to do a proper land use plan, which means having the GIS, having the collecting all the data, compiling it. You're looking at probably $150,000 to $250,000, give or take, depending on how much data you already have, depending on the kind of staff time you're able to allocate, et cetera, et cetera. But it can be done for as little as, even $50,000 to $70,000, and that's more from a higher level. So I think it is helpful to try and give us, even if it's just a general macro view of the budget. It's very expensive, and it can be done for, a very cursory amount, or if you wanted to really hunker down, that's what we're looking at.
Some communities also take a phased approach to it.
Yes, that's right.
Because it's difficult to access those $150,000 to $200,000 pots of money. You have 2 or 3 phases of it.
Which is actually a good idea, because then that way the community's with you on that journey. And I remember the baby steps comment. Doing things in small steps so that you keep people with you the whole journeys. And sometimes phasing it is the best way to do it.
Yes, and I think that's how we've, I know in the last year or two, that's how we've been doing a lot of it, just because it is hard to get the money, the communities that want to do it. So, and it also is an issue of, a lot of funding, depending on who the funder is, you're bound by such tight timelines and deadlines and reporting periods that it doesn't really help with the flow of, a plan that can take, over a year, 2 years, 3 years. So quite often a phased approach is the best way. Yes.
I need to apologize earlier for being negative. It's just that when I talk about treaty, I get all excited. I've been at very many tables in my days negotiating with our people in the federal and provincial government, and it's just been frustrating because we've been in the process for 14 years and not much movement this year. I want to acknowledge CIER for the hard work in coming to our community, and I just wanted to add a couple of words in regards to the future for South. And I've spread this around to different organizations and stakeholders and governments, is that the economic development dollars we make in our communities today, they go back into our community for the health of the community and the health for the environment. And that's different than anyone else, because knowing that those dollars are staying there, and a big part of those dollars are spent on education, not for our people, but the people that live in our territory. So in saying that, I think that that's a good message to send to all governments, is that it's showing a sign we are all working together here. And when we talk about our traditional territories, we know that if we have a healthy environment, we know we'll have healthy children. We're all combined as one. And again, thank you.
Thank you.